was, I don't even feel like I need to say anything anymore. I'm done. Any questions? No, just kidding. And good form, by the way, Gary. That was like very nice rowing form. I liked it. So, yeah, before I start, I got in late last night and been in here this morning for the last couple hours just getting ready, and I'm listening to the music and seeing that you guys have this GOT thing going on, and I'm hearing it being announced. I'm thinking, what does that mean? What does that mean? I finally figured it out. Game of Thrones. So we're all Game of Thrones fans here. So that's cool. We all got that in common. I'm looking forward to that, talking to you guys about Game of Thrones. No. Gary mentioned my quest for world class, along with my two teams that I did this with, and certainly proud of what we accomplished both years. And I'm going to tell you two stories, one from the first year and one from the second year, that I think were the real turning points in that quest. And that's just in my opinion, but I think they're personal stories, and I think that you'll appreciate them, and this group will. But before we start, Gary talked about a vision, and really a vision for world class starts with just that, starts with a vision. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't at least start this story by talking about the most important thing for world class is creating that vision for yourself. I have rowing in my background. I rowed in college. I rowed for an Olympic training team, and we had visions and goals there. And then when I stopped rowing and I was in the working world there for a little while and decided I wanted to go do something else, and this was what it was going to be, it had to be setting the parameters first, a vision. Without that, you're rowing, honestly. And just to give you a couple of quick examples, because I've been doing leadership training and this kind of stuff for a decade now, and I study this stuff, and I'm always interested in stories of people and how they create those visions and what makes them decide that they're going to go after certain things. So a couple examples that I've found in my career that I think are interesting is, we all know LeBron James. He's a household name. LeBron James' first time with Cleveland, so this was like his second season in the NBA. He was young. And they had an okay season the year before, and he comes back, and before the season even starts, he says to everybody, to the media, to the whole world, he says, "We will make it to the NBA Finals." That's what he said. It was a pretty bold thing for a young man to say to the whole world. He said, "We will make it to the NBA Finals." And you know what happened? They made it to the NBA Finals. And you know what happened after that? They got swept in 4 games. Interesting to note, he went out as one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game and set that vision for his team, set that expectation for the rest of the world, and he did it to the exact game, and not a single game better. It's interesting to think about that. On a more obscure note, my colleague and good friend Tom, who you're going to hear a lot about, he's sitting in the back there. We travel a lot doing different leadership development programs around the world. And last year we happened to be in Indonesia. We were in Bali, and we had a couple extra days to spare, so we're hanging out and we're driving in a cab. And we try to talk to locals, and if someone's willing to talk back to us, that's great. And we're talking to this one cab driver, and I say, hey, he's talkative, he's enjoying the conversation. If you could go, because he told us he was from that town. He said, if you could go anywhere in the world, don't worry about how much it costs, where would you want to go? And he thought about it for a second. He really thought about it. And he said, I think probably the next island over. And now Indonesia is made up of like 13,000 islands, and the next island over, you can see it from the shore. If he could go anywhere, his vision was the next island. And I hope that one day, and maybe he has, it's been a little over a year now, I hope he makes it to that island. But he probably won't go any farther than that unless he adjusts his vision. I just think those two examples, one is a household name and one is rather obscure, is just kind of interesting to note. If we're going to have a quest for world class, it has to start with the vision. The alternate is pretty simple. You just set a pretty easy goal, and you will most likely meet it. And that's the end of that story, and that's not very interesting. Everybody in this room is capable of setting great goals and meeting them, else you wouldn't be in this room. But high performers such as ourselves, they can be bitten by that. So I just encourage you, as maybe you're listening to the story, to start thinking about the goals that you've set for yourself. This company has set some lofty goals. The reason you're so successful is because you started with those lofty goals. The seemingly impossible made possible because of process.